Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to segment 2 of the Bullhour 5 show. Today's date is 4/1 of 09, which is April 1st of 2009. Nice Wednesday night here in United States, and I'd like to welcome everybody in the world for watching my show. And my last segment, we talked on General Motors bailout, and we're going to finish off with General Motors bailout and the bailouts themselves, in my opinion. Now, please excuse me for looking down every once in a while. I've got notes down here. See, notes that I go by, just kind of because this is all new to me. I'm not a Glenn Beck or anything. And you ever watch Glenn Beck? Man, he's kind of out there, isn't he? But he makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we touched base on General Motors bailouts, and obviously, I'm totally against it, and I was pretty fired up the last show, so I've calmed down a little bit, but. I've got relatives that work for General Motors. I got relatives that work for Chrysler, and I mean they've been on both sides of the fence. The line people that worked on the line. I've got relatives that were in skilled trades, and I got relatives that were in management. And me and my brother are the last generation that basically weren't union people. I mean I had a lot of relatives that didn't work for unions, but most of them were either the UAW, Teamsters, or millwrights or something like that. So, and first of all, I want people to understand out there. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate the auto workers. I don't hate them. It's just I get tired of listening to them. They want this money. They don't want to give their concessions. They're making anywhere $17, $19 an hour. Then you put the benefits on top of that, and which I guess they've worked hard for. But in today's world, you got to understand. What about the person? The mom and dad that wake up every morning and go out and they're making, she's making $8.50 an hour and he's making $10 an hour. And chances are she's probably a better worker anyways. But they don't have any benefits. But they know for the time right now it's all they can get. So they plow through the stormy times. They plow through all the hardships and stuff like that. And all of a sudden they lose their job. They don't have anything. So we have to understand as we work. We have to understand that, there's people off there worse than you. So I think we're in a society and we're in a time of our lives right now to where everybody has to give a little. Everybody should have to give a little. But that's all about all I'll say there. We're going to get back onto the bailouts. Now, in the news it's been AIG bailouts. I've been hearing a lot of that. But, I will say, though, shame on the politicians for not looking at the bailouts closer. I mean, if I was going to bail out a company, I would go down there line by line by line by line and see what's going on in that company and say to myself, this is probably why they're bailing out. But I think them people, they didn't deserve it, but they got their bonuses. I don't think we had any right taking their bonuses away from them as a government. What we should have done is put some restrictions on the money. Said, look, you're going to get this X amount of dollars if you do this. You'll get this X amount of dollars if you do that. You give this X amount of dollars if you do this. This much money if you're going to, business as usual. This much money if you're going to streamline and come up with a new plan. And this amount of money if you tell your CEOs and your CFOs and your CIOs and your COOs that they don't get their bonus. And then let them decide. Give them options and let them decide. I'm not saying we couldn't give them options, but just to say, look, shame on Geiger and Obama's administration for not looking through the paperwork. And personally, I think they all knew what was going on. And by gosh, how in the world can Chris Dodd even show his stupid face on television? I mean, him and Barney Frank. I'm telling you, people that like Chris Dodd and Barney Frank, prove me wrong. Go back in his voting record. He's all tied in. Sure, their contributions were all legal and right down to the letter, but, it's unethical, some of the things they've done. But that's all I'll talk about on that, because I'm sure I'll get a ton of emails by you Chris Dodd and Barney Frank lovers and stuff. And believe me, there's enough Republicans over there. I mean, John McCain. I used to like John McCain, but as far as I'm concerned, I think he's two-faced. I think John McCain is a two-faced liar in Washington. This has nothing to do with his war history or a war hero. I mean, that was a different era. different time. You can't, I know a lot of people that were war heroes. I had relatives that were war heroes. But he's, as far as him running for president, he's just a liar too. I mean, come on. But let me know what you think on the bailouts, and I'm sure that I'll have good and bad. I don't think we should have started any bailout. I don't think any company is too big to fail. There's no such thing intertwined with the global. We're screwed up anyways. The global world is screwed up anyways. What we are, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a cleansing period. And I don't mean it religiously. I mean we're in a cleansing period of what I call back to the basics. We're going to find out that this country has to get back to the basics. It's our own interstructural Armageddon. It is self-inflicted Armageddon is what it is. And we need to get back to the basics. And what I mean back to the basics is realize that you look up the street, there's somebody that's going to have more than you. You look down the street, and there's going to be somebody that has less than you. Okay? You don't need to look up. You don't need to look down. What you need to do is look forward, is what our society does. Because you look up the street, and you may find out that there's somebody up the street that has more than you, but he might have worked harder for you. And you might look down the street and see somebody has less than you and say, they didn't work hard enough. We have to get back to the basics, and what I mean by back to the basics is our society, ladies and gentlemen, we have to look in the mirror at ourselves first and say, am I trying to do all I can to be a better person, earn more, make more? Am I going to school? Am I doing night classes? Am I doing everything I can? Or am I just sitting back and saying, oh, the world's against me, I should have this for nothing? Until we can do that, until we can look at ourselves and judge ourselves, we're going to struggle. But I think them people that took the bonuses at AIG, shame on them. But man, how would you like to be some of them people that said, the whole family should be strangled with piano wire? I mean, that's going a little bit too far. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to end. I want your opinion. I'm against bailouts. Because if that company would have folded, investors could have bought pieces and bits of that company. Buy them up, and the company still would have been alive. It just would have been maybe 20 different companies. Okay, so a certain amount of it stays IAG, certain amount of it goes to yada and company, and a certain amount of it goes to XYZ company, and a certain amount of it goes to WHMN company. It would all have been broke up. And our tax dollars, they say, well, this big stimulus package and all this and this TARP money is going to cost the average taxpayer about $3,300. Well, if it's going to cost us $3,300 on our taxes, then why doesn't the government give us a voucher to claim that on our income tax? If it's going to cost us and we have to cough it up, why can't we claim it on our income tax? It's an expenditure, right? I think so. If it's going to cost me $3,300 to bail out everybody in the United States that runs a company in the ground, why can't next year when I go to do my taxes use as the deduction? Oh, can't do that, And they say, well, they're going to pay back. They're not going to pay us back. If the government gets any of that, our politician gets any of that money back, you think they're going to refund it to us? No. They're going to use it for some other program. They're going to use it and they'll have some excuse. You know what I'd like to see them do with it? Since we'll never see it, I'd like to see them take all that money that supposedly we get paid back, put it into the Social Security fund. Take all that money and put it right into the Social Security fund for our senior citizens now and our senior citizens coming up. That's what they need to do with it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the show's winding down again, and it's been a fast and furious show. And you've got a taste of my enthusiasm from time to time, but we're going to keep it clean and fun. And I'd like to thank you for coming in. And remember our motto: the sun shines, the grass is green, and we can breathe. So, ladies and gentlemen out there in YouTube land, I want you to look at your fellow person, and I want you to be safe and be kind. Remember, be safe and be kind, and I will see you next week on the Bull Hour 5 show.